Pick a civilization, any civilization. Tell me about it. No, go ahead. I'm listening. Okay, I don't actually know what you said, but I can guess that part of your description would include the geography surrounding that civilization. It's an important detail to consider. Geography is very closely tied to everything about a civilization, from how it developed to how it survives. For the early civilizations of Egypt, Kush, and Canaan, geography was one of the central elements to not only their success, but their very existence. Most of us know of the great and powerful civilization of ancient Egypt. Egypt was one of the first major civilizations in world history, developing into a major kingdom around 3150 BC. Its rise was tightly tied to its geography, most notably the Great Nile River, the largest river in the world at over 4,200 miles long. Egyptian civilization was so reliant on this river that the ancient Greek historian Herodotus even stated that Egypt was the gift of the Nile. The Nile River floods annually, which may not sound great for the rise of civilization, but actually is. When the Nile floods, it deposits fresh soil over its banks, soil which is abundantly fertile. This reliable pattern of flooding helped people develop agriculture, which is necessary to support the growing population of a major civilization. Since Egyptian civilization developed near the mouth of the Nile, where the river empties into the Mediterranean Sea, waterways also played a major role in the development of Egyptian economy, and the access to trade routes across the region via the Nile and Mediterranean were instrumental in the accumulation of wealth and Egypt's rise to power. The Nile is very, very long, and Egypt really only occupied the northern part, although they did essentially control most trade that ran along it. South of Egypt, another civilization grew thanks to the rich soil and abundant resources of the Nile Valley. The kingdom of Kush, in modern-day Sudan, was a culture that had existed since at least the 21st century BC at the confluence of three major tributaries of the Nile. They were conquered by Egypt and formed into an Egyptian colony before they became power enough to establish their own kingdom around 1070 BC. Like Egypt, the natural resources of the Nile Valley were major factors in the development of civilization. What made Kush unique was that their reliance on the Nile was even more closely tied to trade. Kush was one of the first powers in the region to have an economy that was almost entirely dependent on export, and their position in the Nile Valley granted them easy access to the Red Sea, which itself was connected to the Arabian Sea. Since maritime trade is much easier than overland trade, access to the ports on the Red Sea made Kush extremely wealthy and powerful, so much so, in fact, that they actually conquered and ruled Egypt for about a century.